Hi Cello players! Today we're going to go over Minecraft and break it down a little bit so that we can play it together in the next video. So first let's talk about the tempo changes because there are a lot here. So in the very beginning, if you have it in front of you, you can see it says Moderato. So this is kind of like your fast walking. So it's a pretty, nice pace at 120 beats per minute. Later at measure 17 we have a la marche, which is a little slower, right? You're going to pull it back a little bit, kind of more a tempo you can march to at 108 beats per minute. Later at 39 it says slowly, and they really mean it because you're going to pull back basically half the tempo at 52 beats per minute. So this is very slow, right? And something I like to do when something so drastic is coming up is writing or drawing a little pair of eyeglasses in there, so that tells me look ahead. Something's coming. So again, that's at 52 beats per minute. Later at measure 51, con moto means with motion, and so that's going to be a little faster, 88 beats per minute. Moving ahead, measure 63 is lo stesso tempo, which means the same, so 88 still. Continue that, and our last tempo change is at measure 84. You can see it says Grandioso, so this is very grand. It's going to be 84 beats per minute, so it's just a little tiny bit slower than we were going. And you can see underneath there, you can see it says Marcato, which is a very broad, noble bow stroke that'll help us. And we'll go over that in just a bit. So let's go back to the beginning and kind of break down the other parts. So the beginning looks a little straightforward, right? It's the same, kind of a similar pattern going over and over again. But as you can see, that last note in the first measure is tied over to the first note in the second measure. So we only have 2 beats. We have to use all of our bow in those 2 beats to get back to the frog so that we can play the next dotted half note with enough bow. So be very mindful of this and use as much bow as necessary when we have these tied notes and we need to get back to the frog. I'm going to play the first couple measures so you can see on my up bows I'm really moving. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so on my up bow I really brought it back to the frog. And so I'm being kind of mindful about bow usage. How fast to move, how slow to move. So that is the main concern in the very beginning. But basically we just go up in dynamics, as you can see, every 4 measures. It's like a kind of a crescendo. Now, before measure 17, I like to put in a little note to myself, Pizzicato, because at measure 17 we have to be ready to start, plucking. But because it's on the next line, it's really hard to look forward and be prepared. So I like to write Pizz with a little arrow at the end of that line telling me I gotta get ready, And how I do this is if I have my bow hold like this, I can just bring it up into my palm, and now I can pluck with the thumb nicely on the side and, ready to pluck. So it's a very small motion. And this is going to happen a lot. We have a lot of pits to arco to pits to arco at the bottom of this page, and I think even on the other page a little bit. I'm going to play the couple measures before measure 17 so I can show you how to get ready for that pizzicato. So this is measure 15. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? It's very quick, very easy. So what I would do is practice this motion over the carpet, so in case you drop it, it's fine. So, coming up, measure 39. This is the very sluggish part of the piece, right? So I'm going to draw in another little cute pair of eyeglasses there, telling me to look ahead, because it's going to be very drastic of a change. And you'd usually want to look up at your conductor for this because they're going to give you the cue, right? So always follow your conductor because you have a little written in there under the measure, which is short for retard. And we have a couple of those in here. So you want to circle those and remind yourself to slow down. Now looking ahead at measure 51, I circled that first beat because it's a rest. A lot of the times we have something on the downbeat, right? But we need to be careful to leave that space silent. So always circle your rest if it's on the downbeat of a measure or a new section, just to give yourself a little comfort knowing that you won't be the only one plucking there. So go ahead, circle that rest. The rest of this section, we have plucks on the offbeats. I kind of want to go over this fingering here. It's measure 61. So we have a little shifting. Yay. It might be written in your part already, but what we want to do is for that high E there in the middle of the measure, we're going to shift up a whole step with our fourth finger and play that. So you have 4, 2, and then for that C, we're going to shift back to first position, and now we can play the rest of that measure and going on. This happens again in measure 71. So same idea with the shifting to the E with the 4, playing D with 2, and then coming back to first position to play C with your second finger. Let me demonstrate that. So this is measure 71. 1, 2, 3, 4. So pretty quick shifts in there. We only shift twice. Let me do it once more, a little slower. 3 and 4 and. Now looking ahead at measure 73, we have a little time change, so keep in mind that measure is only 2 beats long. So we're going to jump into measure 74 a lot earlier than we would think. Now throughout this section, starting at 74, we have some more shifts to the E with our fourth finger, which is just a whole step towards the bridge. We have some accidentals, like in measure 76, we have B flats. We know how to play that, right? Second finger on the G string, and that low 1 on the A string. But as we move forward, measure 78, that goes back to a B natural. You see they have a little natural sign next to the B there. So we're back to good old third finger and first finger on the A. And then it changes again at measure 80. So we need to be very mindful of all these accidentals happening. Now we're at measure 84, Grandioso. This is the most broad, big, noble, majestic part of the piece. And we're in 7/4 time, so it's pretty interesting, right? And it's marked marcato. So this is like a big sledgehammer coming down. So each note has a big bite in the beginning and a little bit of space in between each other. So if I were to play these notes here at measure 84, something like that. And looking ahead at measure 94, this is kind of like marcato, but they're accented. So we have the bite, but all these notes are probably going to be more connected. So no more sledgehammer and sharp spaces in between the notes. More connected. Say it like this. So we hear the bite, but everything's connected. So it's a solid wall of sound here. Because we're nearing the end, where we have that little retard, so we're slowing down. We have the crescendo, so we're getting bigger. And then we have our accented fermata at the very end at fortissimo. So the end of this is quite grand. Something you might want to write in your part is, for this fermata, we're going to do our down bow, and then at some random point, we're going to switch to an up bow, and continue that crescendo and lift off. So our bows are in the air. So down, randomly switch to up bow, and then we cut off. And everyone should be ringing. It should be a great ending to the piece. So thank you for following along. Feel free to go back in the video, kind of study the piece a little bit, and in the next one I'm going to play through it with you. So I'll see you later. Thank you.